So I had a dream about a salamander. I don't know what that means. Except I was thinking, what kind of an animal is salamander? They're like very, they need water, and I need water. And actually, I'm thirsty, so maybe that was like the dream. Because they need water. Anyway, I was just thinking about my mother, and I have like my favorite picture, which I can't find right now. My mother is just had a really nice haircut, which is rare because she never did that. She always did her own hair, and I'm like young and full of hope and dreams, and we're just really happy, even though my father just died. I think it was just like I was just before the university, after the army. Uh, I think that was that time, or maybe it was just before the army. I don't remember, or during the army. I don't know. But I had a nice haircut. She had a nice haircut. We look happy. Maybe nice haircuts are our best times. I don't know. I just think about my daughter, and I did try to forgive so many things throughout the years, and at the end, I just got stepped on, unappreciated. I realized none of my kids appreciate me, even though I think I gave like everything I had, And then I realized, well, maybe kids don't want you to give them everything you have. They just want to have their own lives, and that's it. And you know what? I just wrote my son, like, I have one son I thought I could talk to. And then I realized, every time we talk, he's always talking about himself. And when I talk about myself, he's like very impatient, doesn't really want to listen. Like, I never hear any empathy. And you could say, okay, it's the age, but he has so many friends. And he's always like, oh, I'm going to meet this one and that one. And he always keeps connections. He's a very social person, and he always seems to like people and have them around him. And yet, when I try to tell him something, he's like, has like no time. So he's more like a butterfly. He goes from one flower to another, doesn't really have time to spend on one flower. And that's not the way I work. I'm always like more one person. I don't like a lot of people. I do talk to a lot of people, but I ideally want to have one or two friends, and that's it. One friend is enough for me. I don't need a lot of friends. I never had a lot of friends because I'm very popular. I'm not popular at all. I'm a really cat person. Anyway, maybe I'm very critical of my kids, but I just think, I don't know, I just expected more. Like, I see these posts by dog people. Oh, I adopted a dog, and the dog is not jumping on me and not friendly and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like thinking, wow, well, try to have kids. Try to have kids. And you expect so much from them. And I'm thinking, I really should have, I would have adopted. I probably would have had so much more in common with an adopted child, with the child that has my DNA, and the father's DNA. Let's not forget, oh, the wonderful father. And I'm just thinking again how I went for the narcissistic good looking guy when that's so not my type. I'm just thinking, how can life be happy with a narcissistic good looking guy? It can't be. Can't be happy. Thing is, if it was narcissism, okay, without the good looks, but narcissism and good looks. And I think narcissism is hereditary, by the way. I don't think it is learned. I don't think you can learn to be a narcissist, because my original family has a narcissism all over the place. It's like bam, bam, bam. I guess I should be grateful it's not cancer, but you know what? At least cancer, the person suffers and not the environment necessarily. Whereas in narcissism, everybody's suffering except the person who has it. It's the opposite of cancer, isn't it? We also have other mental problems. So I don't know. People really should adopt, because when you adopt, then you don't have this familiarity. Oh, I know this horrible behavior from somewhere else, because it is so similar to my sister. Oh my God. She would just promise you the world, like, we'll do this and we'll do that. Nothing ever. And people that promise you things, especially when you want things, and they like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's so ugly. It's just the ugliest thing you can do to anyone. But you know what's good? I've never done that to anyone. I don't think I've ever promised something I wasn't going to keep ever. I just feel so uncomfortable promising anything that I'm not going to stick to, even to the dog, like if I promise, like I say to the dog, you know what, we're going to get you something at the pet shop, because I see the dog really wants to go to the pet shop. I always keep my promise, always. One time it was Friday and they closed early because this is Israel, and I promised the dog a bone, and the person just shut down the door. No way, they're not going to sell me a bone. And I'm like, oh no, I promised the dog a bone. And the dog couldn't care less. She just wants to have a good time. Yes, she does love bones. At the moment, she is busy with a bone. I'm having cat quality time, but it's the promise is not for the other person, it's for yourself. It's your integrity. When you promise something, it's like, I'm going to do this and this and that, and if you don't do it, then what kind of a shitty human being are you? Not a really good one. So I'm just getting now healing from the fact that none of my children resemble my commitment to doing things and not disappointing. None of my children share my sensitivity to other people and feeling sad for them when they're sad. None of my children like children, which is a very interesting point. I really like children. I prefer children to adults. I mean, I think children are so much healthier and more pure souls. I definitely could see some children, like working with kids, I could see some kids are not so nice. But there's still, even the worst behaved child is still so much nicer than adults who openly are nasty and want to hurt other people. And that's something that develops with time. There's some kids that are not so nice. I see that. One child in particular at the moment I work with, he's not nice at all. Really not nice. But you know what? He's still nicer than most adults. There's still hope. And I think, when my kids were young, I don't think I could pick up a nastiness that I now feel from all of them. It's the distance, but they say distance makes the heart grow fonder. Well, I had a big birthday recently and nothing. And my son was like, oh, we'll go this. We were planning like a trip, all of us, and nothing came out of it. But I mean, and then not even a gift, just a phone call, happy birthday. Today we have Amazon, you could so easily send something. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I do like gifts. I love presents, I have to say. I used to give, that's what I don't get. I used to give them, not just on birthdays, but on holidays and stuff. And then I thought, why should I? I'm always giving and I'm not receiving. And these people are adults and they work and they have money. And it doesn't cost a lot to send something meaningful, like a small little gesture. Like, I need headphones, just cheap headphones. They don't cost a lot. Or what else? Just anything. Just something sweet, a nice gesture, something for the dog, something for the cat, a little mouse, toy mouse, something. Just to show I'm thinking about you, and this gift will remind me of you. Nothing. I don't know if other people have experienced that, but don't you think it's weird that the last time I got a present for my kids was when the kindergarten teacher made them make a present for Mother's Day? Really, or holiday. Very odd, very sad. That nothing, like no I love you expression, nothing. And saying I love you is meaningless when you don't do anything. They say, I love you. Yes, but you don't buy me any presents. Like, never, ever. Have you ever bought me a present and you buy the mother of your girlfriend a present and you even tell me about it? And yet you never think about buying me a present because you're taking me for granted. A mother is something that gives you, and like when I think of all the meals I cook them and all the diapers I've changed. I mean, how far do you go back? Changing diapers, taking care, going to the doctor, worried about them, making sure they're in a good school, taking them to all kinds of activities. And yet, and even one son was like, oh, I remember you used to take me, you took me to shoot. At one point, he expressed interest in shooting. So I took him to a shooting range. He was like 11 or 12. I did so many things with those kids. And, I don't think a lot of people do so much for the kids just for the kids' sake. I think it's a very Israeli thing. I think in Europe we both did, but like, well, my ex was more for himself because he likes to go to amusement parks. I don't like them, but I did so much, and yet I cooked. And my whole day was like, what should I cook for my kids? I used to make them muffins when they got up. When they got up, there was a smell of muffins. Can you imagine waking up to a smell of baked muffins, like blueberry muffins, chocolate chip muffins? And then they wouldn't even eat the muffins. They would say, oh, I'm not hungry. I think my kids was like being married to 3 discontent, narcissistic husbands. You know how the husband who doesn't look at the wife? There's a really beautiful French poem I remember learning in French class about how it was so beautiful. I think it was maybe Jacques Prévert. It's like, I put the coffee in the cup, I add the sugar to the coffee, I like all kinds of activities that the woman is doing for her husband, and she said, and he does not look at me, he doesn't talk to me. And then I put my face in my hands, I bury my head in my hands, and I cry. Je pleurais. I love French. Pleurer. French is such a beautiful language. I guess it's because I never lived there. Because every language, when you live there, it just becomes the language. But French for me will always be poetry. And this poem is just how I always felt. Like I would do so much for my husband and my kids. And then they wouldn't even look at me. They wouldn't even acknowledge me. I was always feeling so not acknowledged. And then, divorce, when they actually chose to, the man who his only investment is to sit around and watch soccer with them. And I was just like, or take them out to soccer. And I'm like, really? That's your choice? I just think they're going to suffer so much when they realize I'm not there anymore. Because I know I'm not going to be here forever. I know we're not here forever. And I think they're going to be so sad when there's nobody nagging them and reminding them. And I wrote my son a really long letter text, and I said, you're going to be so sad when you realize that you're stuck with your mother-in-law and the family, and that you have no roots and no connection to your culture anymore, that you just hang out with him. And then I realized he doesn't want connection to his culture. He thinks being Jewish is like Holocaust jokes. He thinks being Jewish is like certain holiday foods and overreacting hysterical mother. He doesn't realize that it's so much deeper than that. It's a connection to your past and your ancestors, and he just doesn't give a shit. And that's what happened when you have mixed culture family. And everything depends on one parent. And then they don't really want a connection to the past. They really don't. They just want to live their here and now. And they don't really, they think they just like, I laid an egg and they just like, that's it. I just laid an egg, and they just, nobody took care of them, nobody changed their diapers, nobody took them to the doctor, nobody took them to school. They just completely erased all the giving I did. And I didn't give in order to receive. Let me be clear about that. But I just feel like nothing. Like, I was always a giving child. I always liked to give. And even in small gestures. And the fact that they just skip birthday after birthday after birthday after birthday after holiday, and then nothing. When I gave them so much, just not just materialistically, but just taking care of, spending quality time with them, like in amounts that I can't even imagine my parents giving, and yet nothing in return. No time for me. And then I didn't realize when my daughter says, "Oh, I don't have time," she means I don't have time for you. Oh, I have time for my friends. Oh, I have time for my friends. We could hang around the coffee shop together. And I don't really have a career. So, I mean, I don't have a career either, but she doesn't have a career. So it's not like she has to do so much. She doesn't have a job. Once she's done with the job, she's done with the job. And yet, she just doesn't have time for me. But you know what's great about being old and growing old and having children who don't care about you? I realize it now. So I'm not going to be like really frail and old. And then my children are going to disappoint me. They already disappoint me now. They really are very selfish, narcissistic people. All of them. And they always back each other up. They're always the Three Musketeers. They're always together. And if I complain about one, you should never complain about them. No, never complain. Never. You're not allowed to complain because they're perfect. They're always advocates of one another. And sorry, but I don't think everything goes. How are you ever going to improve your behavior if you don't look at your behavior and think, well, maybe I could do better? But you know what maturity is? Expect from yourself, not from others. Don't expect from others anything. I just think it's sad. I don't know. I'm trying to think, when was the last time I ever got a present? When it was like a sign, oh, I'm thinking about you. You know, it's not the present. It's not the material value. It's just knowing somebody's thinking about you and planning ahead and thinking, oh, my mother's going to have a birthday, so then I have to send the present. Or that's what I did. You know, every time my mother had a birthday, oh, she's going to have a birthday, I better send a gift in the post because I live far away. Or I better go to the shop, or I better think about what I can get her for her birthday that will make her happy. And it just, I don't think I ever really got her a good present, but I always tried. And it was always a gesture. I love you, Mom. I'm thinking about you, Mom. And the fact that they never even take the time, I think it's so sad for them, because it means they don't really have a connection of the way they have with their friends. Definitely not with their partner. Like nothing, zero. Everybody's more important than their mother. And it's just so sad. But I have a son. I found in a car in the street. Mr. Samuel B. Cat is the perfect son. Right?